Welcome to Under the Onion Skin, the podcast to get closer to independent animation directors and get to know some behind the scenes of their short films. My name is Giulia, and each time I talk to a different director about a short film they made. With this podcast, I hope to be able to capture a glimpse of what I love mostly about festivals, to have something to listen to when we're back to our regular lives, but above all to celebrate beautiful films, talented artists and storytellers. Welcome to Under the Onion Skin. I had the chance in Lisbon at Mostra Animation Festival in March 2023 to talk to Croatian director Lucija Mrzljak, who was part of the jury in that festival's edition. We talk about her film Eeva, which at that time was at the beginning of its festival run. Eeva is a short film about a funeral and a woodpecker. I quote from the Logline, "There is a lot of crying, too much wine, and a couple of dreams that fill the gaps." It was a pleasure to chat at the festival cafe with a cup of tea between screenings. In this episode, among other things, we talk about relationships, dreams, and death.
I was thinking this looks very interesting, and it was very inspiring to watch it. I still hope I can watch it in a big screen soon.
I hope you will. It just started this journey, so you will see it in some festival, I guess.
Yes, I hope. Is it going to be in Zagreb, I think?
Yeah, in Zagreb.
Yes.
That's the next festival I'm going to.
Yeah, that's good. I guess because you just started, you don't know what are the questions that people usually ask.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's just been 2 screenings that I attended to, so, you make the film, you send it to the world, and you don't really know how people will react.
Yes.
So we'll see. That will be interesting.
And
so that's usually what interests me the most, because people ask questions that you never thought about when you were making the film.
Exactly, this is also what I feel. Sometimes they see something that you didn't see, or it was... Yeah, did you already have some?
Not really, because it was so few screenings. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, people really like the style and the atmosphere, even though it's gloomy topic, they were happy that there were humorous moments. So I guess the balance was right. If you have a very sad film, it's good not to be exactly very grim, but to add some laughs, it's good as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I was curious to ask, where did it come from, or is there anything real or from a real anecdote or something?
So how it started, actually, with Morten we directed already 2 films, and then once he had a dream in the night about the woodpecker who was standing on a coffin and with his beak knocking, and it was a Morse code. And then in the morning, or I don't know, in the day he told me about this dream, and it was so interesting, and somehow just as we talked, it began to be a story. Just kind of added a bigger puzzle, but of course it was a long period of writing and changing the story.
But it's really fascinating that it was started from a dream.
Yes, and also we both read a lot of books that were kind of in common interests, and a lot of them are in this category of magic surrealism, and so somehow we already had this working dynamics from previous 2 films, and the story came to be at the same time. We're writing and drawing, and somehow the dream sequences were very important because it came from a dream, and we followed this character, and dreams are so interesting. You can never put your finger on it, and you can never logically understand them. So we wanted to have a film where dreams are suggesting something, but they leave an open space for interpretation and question marks. And
oh yes, so dreams are perfect for animation, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the same time, parallel, as we were writing, music was also being made in quite an early stage, so we would know the atmosphere of the scenes and parts, and so it was just, I felt like it was some kind of embroidery. Everything was slowly growing, and it took a long time. It took 3 years to make it from the beginning, the first dream, until the final film, and
And how many people did you have helping you?
It was quite a small team, and also there was COVID, which really slowed down because we had two countries, we had Croatia and Estonia, and the one producer was in France, Draško, and the sound designer was in Zagreb. But a lot of times during COVID, you just had to communicate through internet.
Yes, but then in Estonia you had some animators, or
yes,
or remote?
At time it was 2 or 3 animators. Many scenes Morten and me animated by ourselves. But yeah, people would come and go, and it was really nice to have a team. Some of the team in virtual sense, some of them were there in real.
And the music, you said it was early on in the process. Was it made by you or by?
Well, there's this famous. The main song is an old song that we found in an archive, and we play it backwards.
Okay.
Which is. The first song that you hear, and it's kind of reappearing in the film. And then Morten also composed some parts of the music that are in the film, and I also played some pieces on the violin, and one song I was singing as well. So in the film there is this one character, a very fat man, who is singing, and that's actually me. So we worked with the sound and the music really. It was somehow organically they're developing as the images and the scenes and the moods.
I think it's very good that you could put your own voice and your own music in the film. It's like putting even more of yourself.
Yes, also I give the voice to the female character, but also Kaspariansis, he was the male character actor. That's funny as well. That's one of the most fun parts when you're giving the voices.
I agree, yes. So nice, I didn't know this. I like it. And so what was the hardest part of the whole process?
Well, to be honest, the story is, talking about death and loss, and sooner or later, because animation is so slow, it felt a bit heavy to be in this theme and topic for a long time. During COVID, it was, lockdown, and it also kept us going. And I don't know if I should say this, but also Morten and we were a couple, and we separated in the middle of the film.
So even
that was
tougher.
hard. That was tough, but all good. We're friends, and we managed even to finish the film. And it was even in the middle of that, it was even a question: should we finish it? But we both really believed in this film, and
it's great that you managed to keep a good relationship.
And then
to finish.
And then it really helped us to finish it and in good terms, and it was really important, this work together, and I'm proud that we managed to make it.
It's like you add another story to the story.
So even though it's a story about the loss of Eeva, for me it's also kind of a breakup film, even though it's not really in the front line, but it's between the lines, at least for me.
And exactly. And so it's a story of loss in many ways.
I don't really say this in Q&As, but now I told that element as well.
I mean, if you're happy with, I keep it, but you tell me.
That's okay, you can.
About the story, I was wondering, what's her approach to what happens? Like, what's her feeling?
So, in a sense, since we were working with loss and death, we were thinking about these stages of grief that the person goes through, and in the very beginning there's these different stages like denial and facing and anger. So in the very beginning all these men are crying, and she's very cold and holding her emotions, and at some point she explodes.
Yes.
And
but it's part of grief also, numbness. So you're numb, you don't know what feelings you're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also there's this one question I guess people would ask probably. All the other characters have the same face.
Yes.
And this is why, because we're following the emotional state of this woman, and she is, inside of her sadness, and in these moments you don't see really clearly.
Yeah.
And this is why all the faces are the same. So all these family and friends they look the same.
Yes.
And also it's happening in the 20s. If you just look at the fashion, we're talking about the time when women were also a little bit, more repressed, and showing their emotions was considered a bit crazy or not so accepted. So we're also a little bit in history, not exactly in modern times. But so she was in the beginning hiding her emotions, and then they all came out, but also she, as we see in the film, she tries to burn her flat and kind of bury her past and move on. But somehow all these weights of images and guilt kind of make her go back and face it.
Yes.
It's metaphorical, of course. This
Yes.
coming back in the flat is metaphorical.
It works very well. I also thought she has to face it, so she has to go back into the fire. Yes, it makes a lot of sense. And the fact that all the faces are the same, it's a perfect metaphor, because when it's like this noise around, it's like out of focus, right? Yes.
And also this woodpecker keeps coming back. It's in a sense like maybe she's trying to move on, but there is this. He's a representation of her husband who died, so he's kind of coming and bothering her. So this woodpecker is coming in her dreams and finally also pushes her to go back in the flat to face whatever it was.
So you mentioned the Morse code. There is a Morse code in the film, and what's the message?
The message is I was born again as a woodpecker.
Awesome.
So
This is something that it's another hidden message in the film.
maybe you saw the version without the subtitles as well.
Yes.
Okay. Makes sense.
I think so. Okay, so it's not supposed to be a secret, like the audience will read it.
No, I think I just sent you a link where there weren't any subtitles, and there should be normally.
Yes. Okay. What's the biggest thing you learned, or the best moment of the process?
Well, in many ways, this is the most complex and the most serious project I've ever done, and I couldn't imagine doing something like this before. I feel like often when you're making a film, you're climbing a mountain. You need to really go through it step by step to be up there to see the view. You change a lot through the process.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. In many ways, it just expanded my experience, and I feel proud and happy that it's finished, because in many parts I felt almost like giving up, but it made sense. You need to believe in your project. So at the end, I'm really happy, and I enjoyed mostly the dream sequences. They came out how we imagined them. I'm happy that it was a film which deals with emotions, because before I haven't been in that zone so much. So it's there's many levels for interpretation.
And then it's gonna give you the chance to talk about it a lot, because people are gonna ask you Q&As, and it's gonna be
hopefully they can somehow relate. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, in the end, you just make a film and you send it to the world. Whatever happens, it's not even in your hands.
Exactly, and it's also good not to think about it, not to expect anything.
Yeah.
My last question is very unrelated. It's about onions.
Onions?
Yes. If you like onions, and what's your favorite way to eat it, or if there is a traditional way you like it?
I think they're very interesting because it's a very essential ingredient, but also it makes people cry.
Exactly.
I don't know, that was just my first thought. Even if you don't like it, it's really an essential part of many meals.
It's true.
I don't know, it's very beautiful visually.
Yes, and I
The
think
fact of peeling it, that it has
every
many layers.
country uses it, so they have many different ways to use it.
Oh, I don't know if this is interesting, but my first thought, actually, I once went to a village in the border of Estonia and Russia, where the whole village lives of onions.
Okay.
And they even have an onion festival in autumn, in September, and they have an onion road, like a boulevard of onions, and you can go there with a car and buy from the locals like onion pie and sacks of onions and everything made of onions, and they almost celebrate it because it's a really harsh climate there, and they live out of onions.
Yes, I mean, and they are very reliable vegetables.
Yeah.
That's good. It's a good answer, yes. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and the chat I had with Lucija. You can find and follow Lucia's work on social media and check the show notes for all the information and links about her short film Eeva. That's a wrap. This was Under the Onion Skin. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time with another director and a short animated film. Ciao!